Hey everybody, Life Lessons Podcast. Today we're going to talk about relationships and communication. So relationships can be one of the most challenging parts of our lives, especially our intimate relationships. But, this can kind of apply to most relationships, but in general, I'm talking about our intimate relationships. And, within our relationships, over time, we'll eventually run into some kind of conflict, some kind of conflict in our values, what's important to you, and what's important to the other person. There isn't any perceived alignment, and they're perceived as conflicting. And that's when all these emotions start to stir up, because we see a disconnection in our values and what's important to you and what's important to them, and a disconnection at a higher level of our purpose. So we don't see how our purpose is serving them and their purpose is serving us. And when this happens, we're going to get emotional, which also means we're becoming unconscious. We're losing our presence. Okay. Our awareness is becoming more limited as we're becoming more emotional, and we start to become judgmental. Right? We will start to put the responsibility on the other person, blaming them for the way we feel. And we may be judging them. We may, either out loud or in our minds, we may be labeling them lazy, stupid, inconsiderate, asshole. These are all our judgments, all our labels. And those judgments and labels are going to be reaffirming or confirming our bias. See, he is an asshole. He did it again. Right? Or she is a you-know-what. She did it again. Look at how she's acting. Look at what she's doing. There's always going to be some confirmation when we add a label and a judgment on someone. Our minds will continue to confirm that. And then you create this downward spiral, which the Gottmans, John and Julie Gottman, call the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, basically before a relationship ends. And there's criticism. It may be from the man or the woman, but a lot of the time it's coming from the woman's side. But it can come from either side. And then there's defensiveness. So whoever's being criticized is going to defend themselves and put up walls because he or she feels attacked. Right? And then if the criticism continues and the perception of criticism continues, then it moves into condemnation, where you've condemned the person. And this is the strongest form of judgment, where this person really has no chance of getting out of this box that they've been put in. So they're condemned, they're judged. And when they're being condemned and judged and criticized, they will protect their own image, their own sense of self, and that's what is called stonewalling, where the person literally does not react. They're just flooded with emotion, and they feel completely attacked. So as a defense mechanism, they just kind of stonewall, don't say or do anything. And this is where two people can become very disconnected. And over time, the disconnection can continue to grow and continue to grow and grow and grow until eventually they will most likely break up. So, how do we prevent all of this? Well, we can make a few simple changes to our communication style. And when we do this, it prevents any defensiveness. It takes away any criticism, and there is no attack within the form of communicating. There's no attack, there's no criticism, and then you avoid condemnation, you avoid judgment of the other person, and you avoid the stonewalling, and the overall you avoid the distancing and the disconnection. And when you make these small changes to your communication style and your thinking style, it will create connection. It will create empathy. So what do we do? How do we do this? First, we have to realize that we all live in different worlds. We all live in different worlds. So the world I live in is different than the world you live in, because our perception of the world is going to be different. When you walk into a room, you're going to see things that are important to you. And when I walk into a room, I'm going to see things that are important to me. And we're not going to see the same things. So when you meet people, you're going to notice things about them that are congruent and important connected to your values. And I'm going to see things and notice things that are connected to my values. So we all live in different worlds. And it's easy to assume that someone is seeing things the same way you do, but they don't. And when they don't see things your way, it's very easy to fall into judgment and criticism and condemnation, leading down that spiral. So, what do we do to create connection between these worlds? We describe our world to the other person. We describe our experience to the other person. Without judgment, without criticism, without condemnation, we describe what's going on for us. What's going on for us. This includes our feelings. This includes our perceptions. This includes our thoughts. Okay? So we describe what's going on for us, and we simply just start a sentence with, what's going on for me is ... What's going on for me is ... Okay? So someone in the relationship, a partner, a person, spends too much time doing something like their hobby or something they love to do, like martial arts or something like that. So, and the other partner is feeling lonely. Okay? Feels like they're not loved, starts to believe that the other person doesn't care about them, all they care about is their martial arts. So you start to conclude things and start to make judgments that are not exactly based in reality, but are believed to be true. Okay? And those feelings, those beliefs are painful. So now now it's like, okay, we got to talk about it. So how do we communicate this? Do we say all those things? You don't care about me, you don't love me, all you want to do is go to jiu-jitsu and hang out with your buddies, and why are we even together? Right? So no, that's going to create a lot of defensiveness, and the communication is going to break down, and that's going to create distance. So we want to create closeness, we want to create connection. So instead we say, what's going on for me is I'm home alone a lot, and when I'm home alone a lot, I feel lonely and I feel disconnected from you. Okay, this is going to create empathy in the other person. This is going to create understanding in the other person. All you're doing is describing your experience and your world to the other person, the missing information that they don't have from your perspective, from your world. Okay? And then you can ask, what's going on for you? If you want to understand their world, what's going on for you? What's your world all about? What's happening in your world? Right? So all this is just a simple shift in communication where you're explaining your world, what's going on for you, your perception, and then trying to understand their world. So if they're on social media a lot, and you may be judging them, you may be condemning them for doing that because you don't see the value in it. You don't see the value in it. It doesn't seem important. So you're missing information. So you can ask them, what's going on for you? What are you reading? What's interesting about that? How is that? Why is that important to you? What are you learning about? Like, really try to understand the other person's point of view. Find out what's going on in their world. When they read that stuff, how does that make them feel? How often do we tell people how we feel? Doesn't seem like very often. How often do we ask people how they're feeling? All right, so by asking them how they're feeling, we're getting some insight into their experience of the world. We're getting some insight into their perception of the world, because their feelings are created by their perception. And we're getting an understanding of their life direction and their purpose. And because everything they do and everything we do is in alignment with our own, it serves us in some way. It benefits us in some way. So if you believe someone has some bad habit they're doing, you can, and you may have judged them for that. Look at it, instead of judging, look at it from a perspective of curiosity. Like, what's the benefit to you for doing that? Like, what do you get out of doing that? How does that serve you? Why is that important to you? Right? You can start to kind of get to know the person at an even deeper level, and allow them to get to know you on a deeper level by being open with them, by telling them your experience, by telling them your feelings, by telling them your perceptions. Okay, guys, Life Lessons Podcast. If you're interested in learning more about this communication style, I recommend watching Julie Gottman on YouTube. She does some role playing, and she explains a lot of what I've just been talking about. She and her husband have been doing research, and she's been doing clinical. She has clinical experience, so with his research and her clinical experience combined, they've come up with lots of really interesting ideas on communication and relationships. All right, guys, Life Lessons Podcast. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later. Bye.